We are going through question 13, which says the graph of the function f passes through the point negative 2, 7. If h of x is equal to f of x on 2 plus 5, then the graph of the function h must pass through the point which of these. So what we're doing is we're starting with this point, we're applying a transformation to it, and we're seeing what our new point is going to be. Now what we have to recognize is that two transformations are occurring. Here we have a dilation, and then we have a translation over here. So let's begin by talking about what our dilation is going to be. So as you can see, we have this, and what this tells us is we're going to have a dilation by a factor of 2 from the y-axis. So that means I'm starting with negative 2, 7, and that's going to become, I'm going to times this by 2, so it's going to become negative 4, 7. Then we have to deal with this plus 5 here, which is simply telling me that I have a vertical translation in the positive y direction. So that means now we take this right here, my negative 4, 7, and I'm going to plus 5 to my y value, which is going to make it 12. So this right here is my answer, and as you can see, that is C right there. Now, before we finish off this video, I want to talk about what I think the most common incorrect answer would be. So what I'm about to do is wrong, but I think the most common way that people would have gotten this wrong is not realizing that this right here is a dilation by a factor of 2. Rather, what I think many people would have thought is this is a dilation of a half. So they would have taken our original point here, and then they would have said, well, I'm just going to times this by a half, which will be negative 1, 7. And then I think they would have known that this is just a vertical translation up, so that would have been 12. So I think this right here would have been the most common incorrect answer that people would have arrived at. So let me just kind of section this off so you know that it's not what the actual answer is. But I think this right here is what most people would have arrived at. But as you can see, it's not an option here. The closest thing you have to it is A, in which you have negative 1 and negative 12, but we don't have negative 12 here, and then this one as well, because you have negative 1. So I think this would have been the most common incorrect answer that people arrived at, but yet that wasn't provided as an option. So I think most people would have just gone, well, I know that I'm definitely plussing 5 to this 7, so it's definitely going to be 12. There is no other 12s here. It has to be C. If we come and we look at the breakdown of how people went, I think that this kind of hypothesis comes true. C, the correct answer, 65% of people got that correct. But then, as you can also see here, 12% of people went with A, and 11% of people went with B. And I think the reason for that, that's higher than D or E, because they saw this negative 1. And that's what they thought was happening here, because they thought that this was a dilation of a factor of a half from the y-axis instead of 2. So just be aware of that when it is in this form right here, what you're doing is you are taking the reciprocal. And I'm pretty confident that you're all comfortable with the idea that, you know, you got that plus 5 at the end. That's a vertical translation in the positive y direction. So overall, a good question. And that is our answer right there. Hopefully you enjoyed it and my little discussion about where I think people went wrong. With that being said, I'll let you go and I'll see you in the next video.